Thanks.
Nice.
So, yeah, let me introduce to you the next speaker for today. Our next talk is from César Ariel. It's actually the last talk for the day, and it is about performing exploratory spatial data analysis on Bolivia's election dataset of 2019. César is a geospatial developer and Phosphor.Geo fundamentalist for the last 12 years, and he enjoys playing around with geodata. So welcome, César. The ground is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anmol.
Thanks.
It is for me a pleasure to be here with you, with all you today. My presentation is my presentation's title is performing ESDA on elections data on 2019 elections, Bolivia elections data. Are you seeing the presentation?
As of now, no.
Now?
Yes, now I can see.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, please allow me a little but important disclaimer. This is a I will performing this as an exercise. It is not its objective to make a tutorial, a lecture, or an academic work. It also is not a qualified work in any of the related fields: electoral geography, geostatistics, spatial econometrics, etc., etc. Also, this exercise is not trying to draw any conclusions or make any assertions about the fairness or lack of fairness of my country last year, 2019. Maybe some of you are aware of some conflicts, some unrest that has taken place here, because precisely because allegations of electoral fraud. So that will not be we will not solve that question here. What I do, however, intend to do is to contribute to the debate, and to make this contribution based on evidence and rigorous thinking and methodologies, and hopefully in an innovative and propositive way. More broadly, this exercise also is trying to make a point on the huge importance and the value of having public data of quality and that is accessible. This is a very important path to empower citizens to active participation and control in public interest matters. Precisely what we are going to do now is to see by ourselves. Well, I am seeing by myself the data. I am interrogating it by myself. And that is because I could get the data, and that is speaking of the data. And also we could very well say the same about the technologies and the knowledge. I could get the data. I could get the technologies thanks to open source technologies, and I could access to knowledge thank you to the open knowledge available via internet. So all these things, I think, are a lot important, are pretty fundamental, and I intend to make a point on this. As I said before, I'm not an expert on any of these related fields. So, but I intend to going forward with this work. So, if any of you guys is interested or have any commentary or criticism about the presentation, about the approach that we are taking here, I am more than I will be more than happy to hear of you. Well, after that brief words, let's go to the theme. First, a bit of context. We will touch here the following terms. Departamento. Departamento is the main administrative national unit of Bolivia. Bolivia has 9 departamentos, and we are due to the big number of data for all the departments. We have just taken data from one department so far. Well, municipio is the when we go down the levels of administrative units. The next is the municipio. Every departamento has several municipios, and municipios are very important because are the main administrative unit, but not in its relationship with the national level, but in its relationship with the local level. The next level down will be the localidad. Localidad is the town. We can have big localidades, small localidades, and one key difference with the other entities is that localidad is a in GIS terms. Localidad will be a point object. Municipio and departamento will be polygon objects. Still going down, we have the recinto electoral entity. The recinto electoral is the physical building where you have one or several voting boxes. the next level going down is mesa electoral. Mesa electoral is the voting box. It is important to consider that in terms of mapping the object mesa electoral, in terms of mapping the votes, we need to map the mesa electoral, and the mesa electoral in the geographic space is linked to the recinto electoral. That is the basis for a step that we have taken after that we will see. That's as for the geographical units. Another term that we need to take into account in these elections truly have been 2 elections in one event. We have held elecciones presidenciales and elecciones uninominales, presidential elections and representative elections. In this work, we are going to deal only with data from the presidential election. And lastly, the main protagonist of this situation, 2 political parties. One is the MAS party, and the other is the CC party. Very briefly, because this is a very complicated matter. After the elections, when the counting of the votes was taking place, an unexplained downtime in the rapid count system triggered within the people deep unrest, and finally there were accusations of fraud. Of course, after that, there were a lot of studies and analyses trying to prove or discard the occurrence of the fraud. Most of these studies are based on one apparent change of tendency of the voting share on the counting. They say that before the downtime of the system, the tendency was 1, and that tendency varied significatively after the downtime of the system. And the deniers of this evidence are telling that it's not important what could have happened to this counting system, because this was a rapid count system, not was the official count system. So what I consider an apport from the exercise that we are going to perform now is that differently from the other works that I just mentioned, we will not see tendencies as snapshots on the timeline. We will see tendencies only at the final time point. We will see the tendency not on a line, the time, but on the plane of the geographical space. Well, the tools are pretty much standard tools between free and open source software for geomatics and data analysts. I think every one of us knows these tools. I won't enter very deep here. What about the concepts and some more detail about the theoretic background of this matter? Well, I encourage you all to refer to the YouTube video, Spatial Data Analysis with Pysal tutorial by Sergio Rey and Elijah Knapp. It is an excellent presentation. It's very recent. It has, I think, 2 months. It is 2 months old, and is complete and very well explained. It is pretty much the base for all of my job. Okay, we now let's go to the exercise. First, look at the data. The data, as I got it from the electoral system, it was available through internet, downloadable. This data was not georeferenced, and it was at the level of mesa electoral. That was the state of the source data, the initial state of the data. As we are trying to perform geospatial analysis on this data, we need to have it georeferenced. And as we told before, the way to georeference the voting data will be to port it to the recinto electoral level. That is why, sorry. For example, this is what I have made for every of the data. Let's say, for example, this. We here have the recinto electoral of Churitaca. In the original data, this recinto has three records corresponding to three mesas electorales, and is not georeferenced. As you can see, we are looking here as the data as it was available. After the processing, the data for the recinto electoral Churitaca, we have it here, has been first georeferenced with the help of other geospatial information, educative buildings and towns from the 2012 census. I have georeferenced the electoral recintos, firstly. And second, as we are going to the level recintos, I have aggregated the data. So what we have here is the same data that we have at first, but aggregated. This has been made with spatial SQL in a PostGIS environment. So the data that finally we feed to our analysis was this. Well, after that, we we have applied to the data some standard analytical tools from the exploratory spatial data analysis methodology. We will see here a few of them. It is interesting because we will see this here side by side for both of the political parties. The tools that we will be looking at are histogram, classificated point map, global MORAN, local MORAN, and significant autocorrelation point map. The histogram is a pretty standard and generalized tool that everyone knows, but I want to stress here that the properly geospatial analysis comes from the Python library Pysal. Every one of these tools, which are properly geospatial, comes from the Python Pysal library. Okay, so first the histogram. The histogram, sorry. This is giving us an idea of the distribution of the voting for, in this case, CC. This is the histogram for CC for all the department of Potosí. And this is the same tool, the same the histogram for the mass political party. As it is pretty obvious. It is a huge contrast. The difference between the voting behavior for both parties. No? Well, for some of the tools that we are going to see, I have made a small transformation that is to express the voting not in absolute values, but in percentages. Here, for example, we are looking at percentages, where the following tool is the classificated point map. Pysal library has a module, a functionality that allows us to divide our data, our georeferenced data, on classes. And there are different algorithms and criterions to make this division. I have applied here the algorithm of Fisher-Jenks. This is the votation, the voting for the CC party. We see that pretty much in all the rural area of the department departamento, the percentage of votation is so small, between 0 and at most 20. And we have high percentages of voting in the cities mostly. This is for CC. And look at the difference with the other party, mass. Most of the rural, I will say, all of the rural populations, towns, have a high percentage of rotation for mass. And in the city, in the big cities, this is Potosí, the capital of the departamento, this point, this place. It looks like there are not the percentages are significantly lower. Now we are looking at a map. The map looks very interesting, and we could very easily to draw conclusions on this. But this is only our opinion. Here we are only telling our opinion about what we are seeing in this map. And what we are seeing could depend on a lot of things.
Last 3 minutes left.
Oh, thank you. Well, to put it very briefly, I have extended, sorry. It will be very valuable to have another criterion, another tool that that will tell us the statistical significance of the data. And for georeferenced data, that tool will be the ESDA. One of those is the global Moran. I will skip this. These are calculations that you made in order to arrive to a final statistically significant result. And in the end, you have this. This test is taking into account the spatial location of our data. And having into account this is capable of telling us that our data is spatially autocorrelated, relates to itself in the space. We have similar values located in the same space, in the same geographical space. And that is not an opinion, that is based on the data, that is based on calculations and on evidence. This is so both for the CC party and for the mass party. The global Moran index speaks us to. We also have a local Moran that tells us the same. On a local level, it's capable of it can telling us where are hotspots or cold spots in a way that is statistically significant, not visually apparent, but statistically significant. Let's say, for example, this. This is for the CC party, and every blue point that we see here is a statistically significant cold spot for the rotation of the CC party. The red dots are statistically significant places with high rotation for the CC party. And the same for the mass party. So with the help of these tools, we can analyze and consider the data in its significant, in its rigorous, in a more rigorous way. Well, that will be that has been my presentation. thank you all for sharing it with me.
Thanks, César. It was really a nice talk. I have a question from the audience. So it's regarding whether the data set is publicly available or not.
Well, in that moment, the data was available. After that, and when it came, as you may know, even the violence and political unrest, civil unrest, no, it has been retired. It is not available from any of the official institutions. I think you can request it to the institutions in Bolivia, but it's okay. By now it is not publicly available.
Right, thanks. Another question is around the link which you mentioned about. Can you share the link to the talk which you were talking about?
Yeah, of course.
And is your Jupyter notebook also available somewhere? Like we'll be sharing the Jupyter notebook post this session, like once we finalize things and aggregate the notes and notebooks which the speakers will be giving us, we'll be making them available on our website. But yeah, if you have any link, you can probably share it now also.
Well, in this moment, I don't have it available, but I could, if you give me a day or two, I could. I don't know if you can upload some of these notes here in the exposition, in the presentation site.
Yeah, so we'll be making the notes and the notebooks and whatever the material we'll be getting from the speakers on GeoPython's website in a few days.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys can give me a couple of days, I can give this to you.
Sure, thanks. Any other questions, people? I don't see any other questions in Q&A section. You may ask. Since it's the last session, we can have grace of 1 or 2 minutes. Any other questions? Right, I don't see any questions here in the Q&A section. So yeah, people may ask you questions in the GeoTrack. So people, please put your questions in the GeoTrack and César would be happy to reply. Yeah, so I can say that we can conclude this session. So thanks a lot, César, for joining and for this really nice talk.
Thanks a lot to you all. I have been happy to be here.
Thanks. So on behalf of GeoPython, I would like to thank all the attendees for being here till the end of the first day. This is officially the end of the first day. I hope you all are enjoying the conference. So don't forget to join the conference tomorrow as well. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day and keep on building some awesome stuff using Python.